Good morning, everyone. I'm Reverend Kate Wilkinson, and I'm so glad that you have joined us for our virtual Sunday service this morning. Today we are celebrating Earth Day. On Wednesday this week, we will mark the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. And way back in 1970, 50 years ago, Pete Seeger sailed his sloop, the Clearwater, from Maine all the way down to Washington, D.C., for the very first Earth Day celebration and protest. This morning we reflect on how the earth is sustaining us during this difficult time, what it is teaching us, and how we are learning through this pandemic that we truly are all connected, and that we are, as it turns out, capable of making vast changes rather quickly in our lives when we see the urgency of the moment. And we think about how that might translate to the changes that we need to make to protect our planet and not just ourselves. I begin with a chalice lighting using the words of A. Powell Davies. The years of all of us are short, our lives precarious. Our days and nights go hurrying on, and there is scarcely time to do the little we might. Yet we find time for bitterness, for petty treason and evasion. What can we do to stretch our hearts enough to lose their littleness? Here we are, all of us, upon this planet, bound together in a common destiny, living our lives between the briefness of the daylight and the dark, kindred in this, each lighted by the same precarious flickering flame of life. How does it happen that we are not kindred in all things else? How strange and foolish are these walls of separation that divide us. We are not separate from each other, even though we are not physically together this morning. So I invite you to light a candle wherever you are, that same precarious, flickering flame of life that we all share.
Hi, this is Shar, and I'm lighting a candle in Truro, Massachusetts.
Go ahead.
Hi, this is David, and I'm from Provincetown, and I'm lighting a candle.
This is Keith from Provincetown, and I'm lighting a candle for you.
I'm Lynn, and I'm lighting this candle in Plymouth.
Hi, this is Amy from Gulfport, Florida, and I'm lighting a candle with love, peace, and everyone's safety. May it be so.
Entwined by Stephen Schick. Spirit of life, God of love, I am entwined in your delicate web of mutuality. The life energy that makes me reach for the sun also moves me to become wrapped like the strong bittersweet vine and the delicate sweet pea around those I meet and love. Here in the tangle of my daily life, I feel your pulse and sense what it means to be alive. Here, twisted and knotted, I thrive, seeking the light that will pull from me the fragrant blossom of love. Spirit of life, help me to experience the beauty of your interwoven and intricate web, that I might always embrace without reserve all those whom my life touches.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Our meditation this morning is by Lynn Cox. Spirit of life, ground of our being, root of unified mystery, growing into myriad branches of expression, bring us together now. Bring us close to the earth, ear to the whispering grass, quietly, attentively, waiting with slow breaths, listening for the very stones to cry out with their rocky stories of tectonic plates, meeting and parting, meeting. Their mineral memories of Hadean days, molten rocks flowing and joining their ancient legends of stars born out of the collapse of other stars. Help us to remember. Help us to piece together our oneness with matter, our oneness that matters. With one more deep breath, may we rise, star-stuffed, walking and rolling across the surface of an impossible blue-green planet. May we join together to heal what is divided. May we find wholeness within, without, among, between. Eternal source, seed of the universe, help us to grow peace. So be it. Blessed be. Amen. I don't know about you, but I feel like I am being held tenderly by the earth these days. Inside the house, I am anxious, restless, rooted not in the present, but in memories of the way things were and concern about the way things will be. I get wrapped up in fear, grief, disappointment, and discontent. And when I am wise enough to remember, I go outside. I go into the woods or walk beside the vast ocean or plunge my hands into the rich soil of my garden. And I am comforted. All around me, nature quietly preaches her lessons to me, to slow down, to be patient, to be present, that life is resilient, that spring pushes through the frozen earth because life wants so badly to continue, and always does in one form or another. Wendell Berry says, "When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things, who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars, waiting with their light. For a time I rest in the grace of the world and am free. Never have I been so grateful for the grace of the world, the presence of still water, the peace of wild things. Never have I needed it more than I do now, and I rest in that love."
There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all I rest. There is a love holding all. There is a love holding all that I lost. There is a love holding all I rest. There is a love holding all we rest. There is a love holding all we rest. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love. We rest in this love.
Our reading this morning is by Mark Ballatini. The Earth, one planet, round, global, so that when you trace its shape with your finger, you end up back where you started. It's one, it's whole. All the dotted lines that we draw on our maps of this globe are just that, dotted lines. They smear easily. Oceans can be crossed. Even the desert can be crossed. The grain that grows on one side of the border tastes just as good as the grain on the other side. Moreover, bread made from rice is just as nourishing to body and spirit as bread made from corn or spelt or teff or wheat or barley. There is no superior land, no chosen site, no divine destiny falling on any one nation who draws the dotted lines just so. There is only one earth that we all share. We, the living, with all else that lives and does not live. Everything, for good or ill, is part of the shared whole. Sky, earth, song, words, and now this stillness. Rebecca Solnit says, "When a storm subsides, the air is washed clean of whatever particular matter has been obscuring the view, and you can often see farther and more sharply than at any other time. When this storm clears," she says, "we may, as do people who have survived a serious illness or accident, see where we were and where we should go in a new light. We may feel free to pursue change in ways that seemed impossible while the ice of the status quo was locked up. We may have a profoundly different sense of ourselves, our communities, our systems of production, and our future." I think this is true. Though we wouldn't wish this pandemic experience on anyone, and we want it to be over as quickly as possible because people are suffering and people are dying, I do think that we will come out of this experience changed. And some of those changes might be good ones if we do the work that it takes to integrate the learnings from this time. How little we really need, how precious farmers are, how local is best, how cooperation between communities and nations is so important. Rebecca says, "When we are no longer trying to unlink ourselves from the chain of a spreading disease, I wonder if we will rethink how we were linked, how we moved about, and how the goods we rely on moved about. Perhaps we will appreciate the value of direct face-to-face contact more. Perhaps the Europeans who have sung together from their balconies or applauded together for their medical workers, and the Americans who came out to sing or dance or howl on their suburban blocks will have a different sense of belonging. Perhaps we will find a new respect for the workers who produce our food and those who bring it to our tables. Although staying put is hard," she says, "maybe we will be reluctant to resume our rushing about, and something of the stillness now upon us will stay with us. We may rethink the wisdom of having much of our most vital stuff, medicine, medical equipment, made on other continents." She reminds us that since the outbreak of COVID-19, carbon emissions have plummeted. Reports say the air above Los Angeles, Beijing, and New Delhi is miraculously clean. Parks all over the U.S. are shut to visitors, and wildlife is thriving. You know, they say that in nature, it takes 20 minutes for the birds and bugs and animals to return back to their natural noises after a car passes. I wonder what will happen to the natural rhythms of the earth now that the entire world is taking a pause from our comings and goings, our traffic, our relentless moving and consuming. Surely not 20 minutes or even 20 years would be enough to get things back to a natural state. But for the first time in my life, I can imagine what that might be like. And maybe now that we are so much more aware of how precious the peace of nature really is, and how much we really cherish human contact, maybe we'll be ready to substitute those blessings for our endless patterns of consumption of things. Because as it turns out, it's not things that sustain us at all. It's the earth, and it's each other. I miss you. Happy Earth Day. Here are the words of Pete Seeger. selfish cruelty. And here in our small corner, we plant a tiny seed, and it will grow to beauty, to shame the face of greed.
Ocean breath, breathe in me. Ocean breath.